All right, Mike, kick it off, my friend.
Awesome. Well, I'm Mike Hook. I'm the Director of Sales at Childcare CRM, and we offer a lead management and CRM tool to help automate follow-up, group communications, and marketing campaigns, amongst some other items for the childcare industry, so for owners and large organizations across the world.
You love it. Brooklyn.
Yeah, Brooklyn, head of content at Wizza. I'm actually in marketing instead of sales, but I'm just trying to wrap my mind around all things sales. So that's why I like these calls, learning from you guys. My daughter's on her Zoom class call right now, so I might have to jump out here now and again.
Awesome. Okay, Caleb, my friend.
Yeah, Caleb Malik. I am the Director of Digital Marketing at Casual Astronaut here in Phoenix. Prior to this role, I was in an AE role for an agency, so still kind of trying to keep my toes in the sales waters and yeah, all that good stuff. So that's me.
Tabitha.
Hey guys, I'm Tabitha Cavanagh, aka Tab the Recruiter, VP of Talent Strategy over at Something New, and I help recruit in a very unique way sales and marketing leaders for companies in hypergrowth mode.
Love it. Patrick.
What's up, guys? Patrick Downs. I'm the head of sales training at PandaDoc. I have a lot of daddy issues, and I'm excited to talk to you today.
I'm Francois. I'm Encore Business Solutions. I sell Microsoft ERP and CRM solutions in kind of the mid-market space. And I, with Patrick and Tabitha and Amy, got this 5onFriday craziness going. And Erin's been on the other side, but today I'm going to hand it over to you. So tell us who you are and what you want from us today. How can we help you, Erynn?
Awesome, guys. So yeah, I am freshly into a new position at a company called Degreed. Shout out, we just raised 32 million for our new product offering. So yeah, I'm known as a director of enterprise sales. So I'm an individual contributor focusing on a region here in Southern California and Nevada. So I'm bringing on net new logos as well as focusing on account management of some of our amazing customers as well.
Awesome.
So today I'm going to be practicing my pitch. It's my first time ever. I'm quite nervous. I actually was on 5onFriday on the other side and barely spoke. So this is a big leap for me. So yeah, just think about it this way. Francois, you and I had a really great discovery conversation last week. You've brought on the rest of your team in the learning and development and talent space. And I'm doing a demo for you guys today, but I'm going to focus on the first half where I'm just going to walk you through Degreed, what we can offer before actually diving into the platform. So I'm going to share my screen, and it just says that I need your permission, Francois.
For sure. And do you want us to give you feedback like on the fly, or do you kind of want to go through it and then wait till the end?
Let's go through it and wait to the end, and let me know. I'm going to like kind of try to be interactive with it, but because it's a little bit longer, I might just like ask a question, pause for a minute, and then move on, like where I would naturally ask the guys, if it makes sense. So.
Okay. Do you want to pick a prospect?
Yeah. So Francois, you're my key person.
Wow.
That
can you share your screen now?
Yeah, let's do that.
Frank, you look taken aback by that. You were just like, oh, a prospect.
Oh, do you say Frankie?
What if I have no budget?
You have a budget. We've gone over this.
Okay.
Well, you're from Canada, and I've chosen the Four Seasons, and they're actually HQ'd in Toronto. So I know you're not in Toronto, but it makes sense, right?
Totally. Love it. Okay.
All right, and action. All right, so hey guys, how's it going? So excited for our time today. We're going to be diving into the Degreed LXB platform today, but really, really appreciate it. I know it's Friday and we're all hankering for the weekend, but really excited to talk to you guys about what we can offer for you. Awesome. So Francois and I had a conversation last week about some of the challenges and business initiatives that you guys have for 2020 and 2021. And I know, Francois, you and I talked about this, but the rest of the team may not know. I'm actually a former employee myself of Four Seasons, so I have some interesting perspective here. It was truly an incredible experience working for your brand. I really loved the golden rule philosophy that Isadore Sharp brought to the Four Seasons on, you know, if we treat our employees really well, well, our employees will then go ahead and in turn treat our guests with the utmost respect and service. And that's really kind of how you created that really loyal customer base. And I know that's a brand promise you're continuing on today. So Francois, last time we spoke, you told me that you were new into this position. You were really excited to be leading up learning and development, but you've also been tasked with some pretty big tasks for this new job, right? That included overhauling what you consider to be a really overcomplicated and fragmented learning and development world. You know, on the one hand, you've had this really successful manager and training program, right? Bringing people out of grad school and college, you know, really kind of grooming them to be the next leaders within your housekeeping, your food and beverage, your front desk space. You're spending lots of money on lots of different systems. You have a really robust LMS. You have content providers. You have subscriptions for, you know, your internal intranet and SharePoint sites. But when you're doing your employee engagement surveys, you're getting dismal numbers, right? Your internal NPS score is pretty dire. You also know that competition is steep in this world of attracting top talent to your hotels. There's a lot of hotels operating in the same 4- and 5-star space. We have JW Marriott, we have the W, we have all of these guys, you know, really competing for the same talent. And what you've noticed over the last few years are people are starting to jump ship because they don't feel like their careers are being invested in, nor do they feel like they have a clear plan for growth at the Four Seasons. So all of this, enter stage left, we have COVID-19. So although things are starting to pick back up, you're starting to see bookings happen again for the fall and into 2021, you can no longer hold your induction and orientation trainings for staff in person, at least not for now. So that's really what sparked our conversation. You know, we want to look to create a really robust digital version of these induction trainings. We also want to talk about some blending learning opportunities as well. Does that all sound, you know, kind of what we talked about last week, Francois?
Yeah, and maybe for the context for the team that wasn't on the call last week, and maybe you'll cover this in the next slide, but you know, you mentioned like LMS and other systems for the folks that are on the call from Four Seasons that weren't on the call last week. And again, maybe you have this next slide, but maybe help us understand where Degreed fits in. Is it complementary? Is it replacing?
Absolutely. I think you helped me put this PowerPoint together because it is coming up. We'll talk about where Degreed is going to fit into this and how we're going to create a really robust learning ecosystem for Four Seasons as a whole. We're going to help you keep ahead in the market, right? So cool. So this statistic has been floating around the internet for quite some time, so you may have seen it before. Only 1 in 3 companies successfully evolves in the face of disruption. Why is that? So here at Degreed, we ask why a lot. Like, why don't most companies navigate change or disruption? And what separates the ones who make it through? How are your business leaders taking on change or disruption? And how are your HR and talent leaders taking on that change and disruption? Asking why is actually how Degreed got started. So our founders wondered why we had all of these infinite learning resources and sophisticated HR systems. You know, anybody now can learn anything they need to at any time. Yet most people still are saying they don't have the skills they need to stay relevant throughout their careers. So we base our definition around success and what factors lead to success on the wrong things, without putting emphasis on all of the skills you have developed during your work experience and also while on the job. It's really been a competency rather than a skills approach to this. Think about it this way. If I start out by telling you that I went to university and received a degree in economics or engineering, that doesn't really tell you what I can do now. It's like if you asked me about my health and I told you that I ran a marathon 10 years ago, that's not up-to-date information and that's not the whole picture of what's actually going on. So while Degreed knows that degrees and assessments, certificates, certification, and performance reviews are all extremely useful, they're not the whole picture. They don't tell you what people are learning now, people being your employees, or where, and they don't help people navigate their careers. And they also don't help your CEO keep your talent in sync with your strategy. At the end of the day, traditional approaches just weren't designed for the world we live in today, and we need to push those further. Does this resonate with anybody?
Yeah, so I'm super keen to see maybe, and maybe we'll get to it in like the next couple slides, but really specifically how you think this fits in for Four Seasons in terms of like the journey maybe of a new employee, you know, and the context with all the products that we use today.
Absolutely. So this isn't just a problem for workers, it's now a serious C-level business issue, right? It's a risk. And all of this volatility has real costs, and not just to jobs and careers, but it can damage your employer brand, lost revenues, lower profits, and huge restructuring charges. So something that we talked about, Francois, is, you know, you really want to be best in class. You want to be that option that people are striving to work at, right? Again, there's a lot of competition in the market, and we want to make sure that we have the best Glassdoor career opportunities ratings, the best reviews, right? So this is going to be a huge part of it, really enabling your employees to feel like they have some sort of control over their career, that they are the CEO of their own career. These are some lessons up here that some really big companies have learned, right? So like I said, GM, they lacked the skills to innovate in electric and autonomous vehicles, 20% lower Glassdoor career opportunities ratings. These are expensive and dangerous lessons, and they happen all the time, even to well-run companies with sophisticated talent systems, just like yourselves. So the core of our business is our learning experience platform. That's where we're going to start out with you guys today. We think it's the most advanced one on the market. And when we started in 2012, they actually created this learning experience platform, like even that definition for us. So we were really pioneers of that, and we've been pushing the envelope in this space ever since. So what makes Degree different is how we approach talent development. So we're going to help you distill data from learning, HR, and business systems to help understand the skills your business needs. We know that you guys already have those today, so we want to pull in the data from that into Degree. We're going to provide real-time insights into not just learning, but also the capabilities that people are building on the job and off the job with you guys today. And now, with our acquisition of Adepto at the end of 2019, Degreed is also going to help match people to high-value projects and jobs. You guys have just gone through some layoffs and furloughs. Your employment base is lower, right? You're in a hiring freeze. How do we leverage the skills that our employees have to still hit the business initiatives and objectives that we have in 2020, despite all of that, right? So those features exist in other systems, but only Degreed weaves them together into a single fluid experience for employees. And that part right there is really important. Cool. So this is where I want to kick off this journey with Four Seasons today. What does Degreed solve for our clients today? If you look at this slide, you can think of it as a maturity curve, right? So look on the left-hand side where it says experience. This is where I think we would definitely be starting with you. And this is where we start with 90% of our clients. So you're in good company. And the idea here is that we're trying to solve for a couple of very fundamental things. The first is just the user experience itself, giving people an actual experience that is driven and tailored for them, right? So instead of me as an employee at the Four Seasons having to, remember my login and password for 5 different systems in order to access learning and development at Four Seasons that's applicable to my job, also understanding how those systems work and the flow of those work, I'm going to all of a sudden have this one front door to all of those learning experiences. I'm going to enable you guys as managers and business leaders to start curating that that information and all of those resources in a way that makes sense for the user.
So Erynn, just so myself and the team are clear, does that mean now this would kind of be the window into all learning and development? So people would start with Degreed, some of the content would live in other systems, and all that information would still be in those other systems, but ultimately this would be the tool that everyone would use for all learning and development.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head right there. So this is going to be the place that your employees are going to be using every single day, right? They're going to be signing in, they're going to be using our mobile app, they're going to be using our browser extension. So it's going to be capturing all of the data outside of all the systems that you have. And then in addition to that, it's also going to be the front door to all of those systems as well. So you're correct in that. Yep. So what I like to tell everyone is Degreed actually started as a consumer product, and our pact ever since has been with the user and not the admin, and that's really important. So just like Francois pointed out, we become the front door connecting all of the learning at your organization, and we're really making it a really personalized experience for that end user. So because this creates a pull versus a push learning environment, it drives a higher user adoption and engagement. So the more a user is active in the platform, which is mimicking the apps we're already using, our social networks, our social learning feeds, the more personalization occurs in the back end through AI. So our platform begins to recommend content from them based on their learning habits, their interests, the groups they are in, and the people that they follow. So what does this mean for you as an organization? This is going to empower you with a ton of data and analytics around where people are learning, what people are learning, and also what skills people have and what gaps there are, so that you can make informed and strategic decisions on how to build the skills your business needs next. It's also going to make your life a lot easier. So while you can help to curate, learning curriculum and plans, a lot of the AI and data science is also going to help curate that just based on the user's engagement with the system as well. Cool. So step one, connecting learning to opportunities. So this is where we literally connect all the content and systems that you and your people need to identify and close skills gaps. So we'll start at the top here. All the learning content that they use. So these are your systems behind your firewall, like your LMS, your content subscription. So maybe Harvard Business Review, Pluralsight, all of those types of programs. And then my favorite part is we're also going to connect public and open source content. How many of you guys are learning from YouTube and podcasts these days?
Yep.
What if you, what kind of impact would connecting those into your learning environment have? If you could actually see Erynn Bell, she wants to be a housekeeping manager. She's looking at these types of videos on YouTube on these certain, subjects. Like, what could that do for you guys in terms of identifying the skills that I have, right? Also, on the bottom right-hand side, we're going to connect data on supply and demand for skills, right? So we have about a 6 million user base here. So, we're getting a lot of data that we've already developed over the last decade from other companies as well. And then now, another whole layer onto this down below is the listings for tasks, projects, jobs, and other opportunities to put existing skills to work, right? So these might be like stretch assignments. These might be actual job openings that are happening. These might be more short-term projects and stuff that we need to hit on. We can actually see people out there that are qualified, or maybe even the gaps that we have that we need to develop within our employment base to hit those as well. So we've done 300 plus implementations to date, more than any other LXP provider out there. And this is really where we talk about that learning ecosystem and the little glasses in the middle, that's Degreed there, connecting everything together. Cool. So once we have all of your learning and talent systems working together, Degreed's skills engine uses that data to help you provide a personalized development experience for each user. There are tools for learning, talent, and HR professionals to curate development experiences like pathways and plans. So for me, starting at Degreed, a couple of the pathways that I became a part of, one was building a business case, right? That's a core to my success here as a sales director, as well as my sales onboarding, right? That laid over 3 weeks, everything that I would need to learn to create a base. And then also plans, right? So I might have a housekeeping leadership plan, or maybe just a leadership plan in general at the Four Seasons. That might be more aspirational for me. So I might want to follow that plan because that's going to set me up for success, as a part of my 3-year plan. But there are ways for people to drive their own learning as well, and to learn with and from each other. And there are more advanced options for embedding learning and development into people's jobs as well. So that diverse learning experience generates a lot of data on people's learning activity, like what people consume and complete, as well as what they're searching for. So we also have several proprietary tools for measuring skills embedded in this experience. Some are really accurate, some are more lightweight, and we've also begun to integrate third-party data sets like Pluralsight Skills IQ. So all the data is being used to build a living, dynamic, real-time picture of people's skill sets. And that data is fed along with other data that users provide about their experiences and interests into a personal talent profile that users own themselves. They own it, they can take it with them, and then they truly become the CEOs of their own careers, right? That profile can then be used by managers or business leaders to find people for open assignments and projects, but it's also continuously matching individual users to opportunities to learn, develop, and advance. You know, as of today, would you be able to connect those opportunities to individuals based on their skills with what you guys have, the tools that you have at your disposal today for how, 70,000 people across the Four Seasons brand?
I mean, my guess is a lot of that information is pretty, I don't want to use the word siloed, but it's probably contained to kind of smaller groups. And, I think what you're trying to point out here is that this gives that opportunity to maybe surface that level across the organization, surface that information across the organization.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can do it in a faster way, right? If we have all of this data science and analytics behind that. So let's think back to your NPS scores and employee engagement surveys. So your employees feel like they're not being invested in, they aren't being seen, they're not seeing a clear pathway to success. So if you deployed Degreed and people were using the system like this, right? Every single day, feeling like they were getting a feed of personalized content, what could this mean in 6 to 12 months down the line for your NPS scores and survey results? What could this mean for your organization in terms of leadership development? Personally, I think it's a really exciting opportunity for your organization. So this is not just about creating a better learning experience, it's helping our clients be more responsive to change. These are some of the results we're seeing from some of our happy and successful customers and users, right? So reduced the time to productivity for new frontline employees by an average of 28 days at TEK Systems. If that could happen at the Four Seasons, what would that mean for you guys, right? We know that with tons of changes in terms of data security across Canada and the US and the UK, if you were able to upskill software development teams in new secure coding practices in just 1.5 weeks, what kind of business impact could that have at the Four Seasons level? So while these results might vary from client to client, we do have a growing body of evidence that shows we're making a real impact for workers and managers, for talent development teams, and truly for our business leaders as well. And I do like to kind of end on this before we head into the platform, guys. Degreed is not just selling software. Our clients come to us looking to innovate. And Francois, that's something that you said that you were really looking for in this new position at the Four Seasons, right? How do we move into the future? So the secret sauce is actually our people and community. So we invest heavily in the client experience consultants to help with everything from business cases to adoption to ongoing support. Our designers and engineers have a strong track record of collaborating with clients and partners to create totally new capabilities. And increasingly, we're connecting our clients to each other so that they can show what's working and figure out what's next together. So we're truly creating a really robust partnership, as well as what I would like to call a family here. So again, with Degreed, we're going to connect your learning to skills and your skills to opportunity. And truly, that's why 1/3 of the Fortune 50, along with hundreds of other companies all around the world, have gravitated to Degreed. So I'm really excited to kind of dive into the platform now to show you what this is actually going to look like in real world applications.
Yeah, perfect.
And scene.
Oh, okay. I thought we were actually gonna get the demo.
Oh my God.
I know. Like, are you going into it? I want to see it.
I know. How do I stop screen share? Oh, there you go.
No, that was great. That was great. So I know you had a lot of content there. So why don't we start? Mike, you're the new kid on the block. Sorry if you hate the band. But why don't you start with your feedback, and then maybe let's go Caleb, Brooklyn, Tabitha, Patrick.
So yeah, Erynn, awesome job. For that being your first time, you said really pitching that. there's a lot there, and that's heavy. So I think you did an awesome job laying it out. The story you tell is really good. You lay out the previous convo. I like that a lot. You got confirmation from Francois early on too about his pain points. And then the stats. I absolutely love that you put those in there. Super relevant, especially right now going through change with everything with COVID, like really impactful when I saw that. The only things for me where you kind of rush through the ability to get everyone engaged early on. So right off the bat, you had done discovery with Francois, but you've got a really big group here. If you could kick it off, and we weren't all having roles, so this is more conceptual, but if you had asked Francois, what are you really excited about today to help address your pain points that we talked about before, and then get the rest of the group to validate theirs. Like, here's what we're excited for. Here's what we're struggling through. Now you just get interaction right off the bat, and you're live agending the entire call. Yeah. And to that same token, very similar, like the impact questions you asked, we jotted it down in the chat. I know Patrick put it, I had jotted down a note. When you ask those impact questions, what could the NPS score lift mean for you? Stop. Yeah. Like that right there is such a great question. And you had a couple of those you flew by. So I would just kind of focus on that and getting that involved. But otherwise, like that YouTube comment was gold. So find other little nuggets like that and lift those in, because that's super relevant. But overall, awesome job.
Thank you.
All right, who's next? What did I say, Caleb? Yeah, go Caleb.
Yeah, I'm next up. So I wouldn't disagree with anything that Mike said. Your octave is great. So all of my kind of pieces of feedback are very nitpicky. The first thing was in the beginning you used LXP. Is that the kind of abbreviation? That may be something that your like typical buyer is familiar with, I assume. Okay. Or but you also said you kind of were the first in that field, so I wasn't sure like that was, I assumed it meant learning experience platform, but still it's kind of, I guess, a note. The recap, I just kind of wondered how, like, as you were giving the recap of your previous conversation, how that might be maybe more interactive, kind of to Mike's point. Although at the same time, I can totally get why you wouldn't want to like start asking other questions and like all of a sudden you aren't controlling the conversation anymore and all that stuff. So it's just kind of something to think about, I guess. You did a really good job of handling when Francois you had asked some question, I forget what it was, and you would kind of responded with like, oh, it's like you help me build the build this deck, it's coming up, and you did like a really good job of handling like you'll get your answer, but it's coming up in a really like kind of nice way. So kind of kudos for that. At one point you had asked a question and were getting a response, and while the response was being given, you switched the slides to the next one. And so that was like, I was like, oh, that was kind of nice because it keeps the conversation moving, but at the same time as in the meeting, I was like, oh, what's on this next slide? And I kind of like stopped like listening, you know what I mean? So I think that again, it's just a small thing. The third party data, when you mentioned that, I was like, oh, what does that look like? And what might that be? And again, maybe your buyer knows what those things are, but for me, that sounded really interesting. And so maybe expanding on that and giving more information on that. Yeah. Then the final thing, I wondered, and this is just more like platform, it didn't come up at all, but like if there's gamification in the platform, like can I see what other people are like doing? Can I compare myself?
There is, that's a really good point, yeah.
So that to me would be like a huge selling point, because I'm like, oh, people will be super motivated to like do their learning and do all this stuff, right? So I think bringing that up and kind of highlighting it would be great. And I think maybe even talking about one of the things that stood out to me is like not necessarily a use case, but a benefit of the platform is it kind of seems like it democratizes advancement a little bit, because it does make it a lot more objective in terms of who's doing what and what sort of activities you're doing. And I think maybe highlighting that could be helpful too.
That's, especially right now, that's very relevant too. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, Tab. Brooklyn said he's just an observer. He's got nothing but good things to say. So, that's a compliment.
I know, that is good. Brooklyn, we'll bring you back in for some positives maybe at the end.
And the kids are crying in the background. That makes sense.
Okay. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, Erynn, man, that was awesome. Your personality, your vibe, everything, your energy is so cool. And I think that's going to be, just a differentiator in itself. So well done, truly. I'm really proud of you. I think I had said in the chat behind the scenes was, summarizing the previous conversation, great. And then like to kind of piggyback off of Mike is every leader is going to have a different gripe. You know, different departments, different levels, they're going to be experiencing different things that maybe a leader across the table doesn't even know about. So by going in deeper with them, you're going to open up doors to make new connection points with your platform to maybe they'll ask a question and maybe that will help you surface something that you weren't even planning on talking about. So just like really deep, like diving in deep there. And again, like asking those questions and then leaving that space for silence. And I know we were just doing it a bit differently here today, so I get that. But your questions were so good that making sure they really get to answer those and you get to hear how they're answering them, I think is really going to help. Love the personal story and connection in the beginning. Anytime you can implement any type of storytelling or connection like that and what resonates with you and how that ties back to Degreed, I think is, you know, well done. There's a lot of information on the slides, but I do like that it still looked very clean. It didn't feel so busy, but it was hard to kind of like, I was trying to listen to you and look at all the slides and like figure out how do I read the slides, but like hear what she's saying. So maybe something there, but yeah, I loved how you tied everything all together.
So something that I've seen another guy do who's newer like me, because I didn't know how to do this because I don't have PowerPoint on my computer yet, but he and Francois has told me this in the past. It's like bring things up as you're talking. And I think the slide where I'm like, here are your systems, here's your data, here that, I could have brought those things up as I was talking, like the dynamic slide rather than having them all up at once. I think that would probably help to solve a little bit of that overwhelmingness of everything on the slide at once. So.
Yeah, like I don't know, even if you're somehow zooming in on one point or, you know, yeah, I love that idea, Mike, animations, anything like that, but just to hone that in a little bit. But again, that's not like, those are slides that have been created and they look great. It's just, because I actually really like this product. And as a talent acquisition person, I actually was just talking about this, is filling in those gaps. And right now with COVID, you know, instead of having a knee-jerk reaction to just lay people off, all the hard work you put into investing in your talent up front, you know, that costs a lot of money. So to just get rid of everybody, to have to do it all over again, especially if they're not furloughed, is, you know, kind of a big deal. So to be able to take people's maybe outside interests as well and figure out how to tie those in and say, hey, right now, we don't really need recruiters because we're not bringing new people on. So let me move a recruiter over to like an HR function or maybe like a sales function or a marketing function instead, but knowing that those capabilities that are transferable, I think that's really, really cool. And I think that this is going to be a phenomenal offering. So well done.
Yay. Awesome.
Patrick, are you coming in with are you going to be the bad cop?
Be the bad cop.
Well, first of all, hi, Erynn.
Hey.
How's it going? How's the first month so far?
What day is it? What's going on?
It's like day 12, I think. Yeah,
No.
It's crazy. Do you have a background in public speaking?
No.
You don't? Okay. Well, you could have fooled me because your ability to convey information and tell stories and just have a presence is like some of the best I've ever seen. That was
You're gonna make me cry.
unbelievably good.
Thank you.
And, you know, I listen to a lot of people do this sort of thing every day, and I really mean that. I really like the deck, actually. A lot of times I see a deck, I'm immediately just like, fuck that. Like, something in my brain turns and I don't like it. But that one is great because it follows that whole, like, the Zahora deck that everybody points to, where it's, you know, there's a shift happening and, like, people are changing, and then you need to go along with that or you're going to get left behind. But the one thing I'd say is, and it's part of the process, you're kind of giving, like, a mini demo in the deck by providing them a solution before you even get to the product. So for me, like, you're building all this impulse with a story and then the discovery that you did, you have all these pains with the MPS and everything. And then you just, like, I don't know, there's like no climax because you're telling me how you're going to solve it, but you're not showing me. Yeah. And then you're kind of like doing it again in the demo, I assume. Yeah. So like, why am I being given the pill twice? Yeah. So it's like you're doing all this work to build the impulse, and then you're like shooting 2 bullets in it. And I feel like it could possibly take the sting out of the demo. Like, that's supposed to be the moment where they're like, oh shit, you're finally giving me like what I need, and you're already doing it.
That's a really good point. I saw one of the guys, he's been here for ages. He had like screenshots of like the things in the demo that he like kind of put it, because we have the ability to change these around and hide slides, and they have like back pocket slides we can use. So I did a little bit of shifting around, but I thought about that as I was going. That the one thing I'm struggling with, I think a little bit here, is I'm going to be working like 6 to 12 month sales cycles. So there's just, it's kind of cool because naturally out of these demos, we're already like, oh, we need to do 5 more demos, but like, how do I do it in a very strategic way? Because there's just so much, right? It's a very complex solution. So that's a really good point. How do I continue that excitement and you know, what's next, and not taking any power away from the next one?
Yeah, I would just take like the last 5 slides out,
Okay.
pretty much.
Yeah.
I would try that at least and see how that works, because I feel like your impulse level would be higher.
Yeah, it's actually funny. I talked to my boss about this. He's like, our decks are really good. They're 14 slides though. He's like, I would try to trim it down to 8 to 9. So that's like,
Yeah,
to your
it's
point.
about right.
Yeah.
And what is your discovery like, Erynn?
Like, what was the call like before this one?
Yeah.
I haven't done one yet. We really try to dig into business initiatives. What's happening? What are you guys trying to really attack next? What do you guys need to hit out of the park in the next year or 2 or long term? We really try to dive into that. And then we try to get information on, you know, what systems are you using? What kind of data are you guys looking at already? You know, what your background is, what's important in your role. But we really try to tie it to other departments as well, right? Because HR is amazing, but sometimes they don't have a lot of say in terms of where their budget's spent. So we try to really get our objective or our goal out of the discovery is to really tie business impact, right, to like what they're trying to accomplish. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely does make sense. I was just trying to figure out what kind of methodology your team is using. Have you guys talked about it in those terms yet? Like for enterprise, oftentimes you'll hear like the gap selling model or something similar to that. Is that what you guys follow?
Yeah.
You do? Okay, good. So like, what is the future state that most of your clients end up in when they buy from you?
I'm not sure. Future state. I'd have to think. I have to meditate on that one a little bit.
That would definitely be good to know, because that can inform your entire sales process, right? Like if you know exactly where people get to when they buy from you, that's going to help you so much in the entire thing.
Yeah.
Because it seems like you know where they are when they come to you, but we need to sell to the gap.
Yeah.
I'd be
Alright,
curious
that's
about
everything for me.
retention for sure. Like maybe how retention has changed after they lose or after they use, Degreed and in your platform. Are they keeping more people? You know, and I might reach out to like heads of people or chief people officers as well, because those people are in charge of, you know, performance management. So they're working with the leaders of the company. They're an advocate for the people, but also an advocate for the business, and they have to strike that balance. So a platform like this, I think, could really help them do that and be able to measure that, tie that all back, make sure the leaders understand what's happening with the teams. And it's like a whole communication loop that I think, you know, would be really beneficial to people in that role.
And that's where our ideal customer profile really comes from. If a company has someone within the HR department at the C level, we know that they're really starting to tie people to business objectives rather than just like a nice to have. It's like essential to they're starting to understand that it's essential to their business to survive. So that's a really good point, is like looking, you know, our number one companies that we want to go for have like a chief HR officer, chief learning officer, or a chief people officer. So that's a really good point. I didn't think about the people officer one.
Yeah, good.
Awesome.
Erynn, how long is the actual demo?
So we usually reserve an hour for the first one. And we try to keep what I just did to like 15, 20 minutes.
Got it. So I don't know how the group feels about this either, but one thing that might be an option as well is this deck and this front part was so good. And if your sales cycle is 6 to 12 months long, it might almost be worth separating the calls.
Yeah.
So sitting down and doing an entire different discovery call with the larger group, so that as opposed to doing this slide, and like Patrick was kind of saying, you get everyone revved up in this slide deck, and then it's like, oh, we're here, and then we're dropping, and then we're here. It'll allow you to, and one of the things that I've seen personally work is have these calls up front and really front load them. So by the time you get to the demo, they're already, they're in that future state. Now you're showing them, hey, this product will get you where you've already told me you need to go. Yeah. And then after that, hopefully it's okay. Now we can just price it, negotiate it, and move on. As opposed to getting stuck in, if this demo does go long, a 90-minute call, a 2-hour call if the group's really chatty. I don't know if anybody else has done that at your company, but might be something to consider.
That's a really good point. I have a call in an hour with my manager, so I'm jotting down all the things I want to ask him, which is awesome.
Yeah, and my experience in like those 6-month enterprise sales cycles is, to Mike's point, and I think Patrick brought it up too, like you want to try and figure out what that end state is and kind of reverse engineer that and work backwards. And the thing is, like, you can burn yourself out in your team with demos because they'll just keep saying like, can we see this? Can we see this? Can we see? And you can keep doing that, but you might just be going in circles. So you kind of want to do that discovery to figure out, what that problem is you're solving, and then lay out, here's the things we want to help you solve, and have those discussions, and then like have very, very, very laser focused like demos. But you want to lay that whole path out for them. Say like, here's what we're going to do in 6 months. Because if you just kind of demo and let them, they'll just keep asking for demos. Like some person was like, hey, can you deep dive into this? And and it's like you absolutely lose control. And yeah, I mean, you don't want to do that, because then they're dictating, and they, somebody will go down rabbit holes. And so I think if you can kind of lay it out, here's the big problem. But I won't be the bad cop. I'll put the old school glasses on.
Oh my God.
Put the wig on. No, I'm kidding.
You look so good in those.
It's too early for a wig, Erynn. Get real. That's later. Anyway, I'm joking. I can't even use these use cases. The NPS at the beginning, I love that, but I was like, okay, like, can you give me another example? And maybe you don't have, but like, there's got to be another client that had this. So it was like, okay, 4 Seasons, you're telling us this NPS. And so like right away, I was like, okay, it'd be great if you could have maybe given other examples of like another client that said, okay, we had this problem and here's how we used Degreed to kind of tackle that. You and I have talked about slides and the animation piece, and it's come up today. And so I felt like, everybody here I think mentioned that, like we all know the psychology, right? If everything's on the screen, we start reading it.
Yeah.
So I think there was a lot of places where, like when you had GM and Heinz, in my mind, I was thinking, okay, that's cool. They're cool companies, but I would love to see a slide that had like GM first, the problem you solve, and then on the right-hand side, bring in something that, is super relevant to 4 Seasons. So you solve this for GM. Here's an example of how you can do that for 4 Seasons. You solve this for Heinz. Here's you can solve, because if you just throw that all on the screen, you might have like incredible stories, but they're just like,
they're like, this isn't relevant to me. Why do I care? Yeah.
Or they're just like reading ahead.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Because everybody said, and you guys have like amazing stories. So there's, you brought up AI, and I can't remember if it was on one of our calls, but like, it's a super, super buzzy word, right? And I'm not against using the word AI, but I think if you reframe and say, like, ask a question around, like, wouldn't it be helpful, or like an assistant kind of like, so you want to explain to them how you can solve it, and then maybe mention that it's AI. Because I think if you throw AI in, some people like roll their eyes, or like AI again, or they're just like, oh, that sounds complicated.
Yes. Yeah.
AI is like just assisting or taking away things. So I think if you just tell a story like that, and then maybe kind of like mention that it's AI. So the Degreed journey was the thing I kept thinking about. So often when I'm talking about those 6-month cycles, I like to build out a deck that says, like, you had the curve. So today, like put an actual date, and then maybe put like, here's what you want. And then in the middle, again, I'm like overkilling on the animate, but then in the middle of the arrow, like actually show something tangible that you think they could do, and then actually put a date for the goal. Because you must know from discovery, they probably said, hey, we want to kick this off by this date. We want to go live by this date. So I think if you can draw that and use like specific examples, and then that's also a great conversation point, because I mean, I know this was just kind of a dry run, but you know, hopefully you'd be able to kind of pull people in and say, hey, Mary, what do you think?
Yeah.
You know, what about Tawny? Tawny, you're chatty. What do you think? And actually, that was one thing at the beginning I think probably would be helpful, and you probably do this, is like find out who's in the room and kind of what their real, I don't want to use pain points, but and then the last two things I'll say around the data science, like they just seemed heavy. Like that data science slides, like there was a lot there. And again, I would try and like animate and maybe like bring in Four Seasons examples.
Yeah.
So for every client, like, okay, we know you have this problem, we could solve this, and maybe layer on the data science piece. But I don't know about anybody else on here, but I saw a lot of cool stuff. I was like, this is cool, but
It doesn't,
like,
yeah.
and nobody's ever gonna be like, no, we can't use that fancy word. Like they'll never say that.
I agree with you on that. And that's something that I was thinking about as well. Like I was like kicking myself like, damn, I wish I could say, and then this is how Four Seasons would see it or do it, and then like really put you guys in there, because I've been really trained on like neuro-linguistic programming in sales. And like if you can make people think that they're in the car, driving the car, feeling the car, seeing how it runs, then they're like gonna buy the car. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And I love, like Mike brought up the YouTube piece, and part of me was like, oh, that's a wicked example, because it's super relevant. Like who hasn't done some learning on YouTube? But I was like, tell us a story. Like tell us about another customer that used that. Maybe they haven't, but like using kind of a YouTube type of an example, I think would be really interesting.
I feel like a good question for that would be like, hey guys, who here has ever struggled with Excel and gone to YouTube to try to figure out how to do pivot tables or something like that? You know, like I've done that. I've, broken my fan and I had to go to YouTube, like, how are we doing this in our everyday lives? And what are we using it for? So,
yeah. And if you don't get a reaction, you could say like, well, I went to YouTube to figure out how to sell Degreed. So hello.
Yeah.
That's true. That fits with your personality too. Super lighthearted.
That's actually that's so funny. No wonder you're a really good salesperson.
Francois, that's amazing.
I don't even work for the company. I just learned everything offline.
All our training's on YouTube. We just Google it. Anyway, I had a lot of stuff there, and but yeah, I mean, it's funny because I see, I don't know about you guys, but I see a lot of people like hating on slide decks, and it's like, well, what do you do? What else do you do in remote? You can't just conversation them to death.
Yeah.
You got to have something. So I feel like you gotta figure out how to like basically be the champion of slide decks. Like we got to use them, and there's ways to do it, but I think there's ways that don't work.
I agree. So here's a question for you guys. So like, I know Tab, you work in this world. So if I were selling to like the CFO or maybe other people like that, I would like take them to the golf course. Where would I take HR people? To like a quilting convention?
Don't mind me, guys. I'm just going to be over here, like some shit. Like, the hell, Erynn?
I don't know. Like,
better hope nobody from HR watches this video.
Like a concert, like, I don't know. I think they're like really fun. Like they're not just like sports. They're like into other things in life. Like,
yeah, they're not going to arm wrestling competitions. I know what you mean.
Yeah, no, that's really funny. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think it just depends on everybody's personal like own interest. Like I honestly wouldn't have a way to bucket that into like all HR people love this,
Cheesecake
no, this is me trying to be funny,
people, so maybe you could take somebody to like I don't know, maybe you could do some type of like volunteering together or something. You know what I mean? Like
really cool. Yeah, I love that.
But do you think you're actually going to do much face-to-face soon, or is it still going to be virtual for the next 6 months?
No, not for a while.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I think if you're looking for ways to differentiate, like in that Thursday night sales last night, Christine was talking about how, what really gets her, and you got to be careful with this, but like somebody, when they were walking from like the lobby to the interview room, like did the research and found out she loved boxer dogs and was like talking about boxer dogs. And so she was like, all of a sudden, like, I love this person. And so, I mean, the thing is now it's all through a slide and virtual like this. So you get like a sliver of time to be like, hey, I was creeping your Instagram and I see you like, I don't know, yoga.
Yeah, I know.
You can say that. I can't say that. That'd be weird.
Where was I? I was reading something and it was like, imagine you're in the office of the prospect and you find yourself in the elevator with their CEO. Like, what would you talk about? Like, you probably wouldn't have ever been able to get a face-to-face meeting with them, but now you have like, what, 30 second, I mean, literally an elevator pitch, I guess, but how could you do it in a smart way and not make it seem like you're just a salesperson, but somehow connect with them and build that relationship in that elevator ride? I thought that was a really interesting way of putting it.
Well, you could break the ice by saying, wasn't the elevator ride awkward because now we have to be facing away from each other in the elevator?
Wearing masks. I love that. Oh my God, this has been amazing, you guys.
I'm just looking at the comments. There's some good stuff in here too.
Yeah, do I get a transcript of this?
I don't know. I've never saved comments, but
you know what, they should. I've heard that they do, that you can save them somehow. I don't know how.
Frank,
yeah, I'll save them.
When you get the recording, Frank, there's a third file that's a text file. You can open it up and copy it, and it'll have all the comments.
Okay.
Oh,
So
nice.
I'll put it this way. We have to get like pitch certified at Degreed. So I'm getting pitch certified in 2 weeks. This was so helpful to me because now I know the areas I want to focus on to get that certification going. So.
And typically what happens after these is we all say, well, we can do one-on-ones too, right? So we're just like dying for the animated slides. That's what we're excited about.
Yeah, I really got to deliver. Pressure's on.
Well, I mean, we haven't even hit the 1 hour, but I guess anything else from anyone else?
I was just going to say, for all the tips on animation and things, I thought the slides, I think it was Francois, I think you said, people hate on slide decks, but I'm one of those people. I think it's usually because they start out with like, our company was founded in 2012, and it's like, Jesus Christ, it's just like, shoot me already, But like, I found it to be really generally, I mean, because, we're playing mock roles, right? But it was generally pretty focused on like the business case and those sorts of things. So there's small tweaks, but overall it is a really nice deck and did a great job.
I think overall my sense, and I know I've put some posts up on LinkedIn and people are like, oh, you're in the honeymoon phase, but my sense of Degreed is like they're very data driven. They look at things, they research things, they experiment with things, but then they also like put it out to smaller groups and see what works. And so everything is like really intentional and thoughtful, I guess. And I guess I really like that they always think, because of, we always say that our like mission is to like jailbreak the degree and like kind of like disrupt the learning, the system that the way it is, that they think about that like holistically in their business. Like, this is how everyone else is doing their slide decks. How do we disrupt that? You know what I mean? So yeah, I really appreciate working for a company like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, well, maybe we'll ask you in 2 months if you're still in the honeymoon phase.
I know.
I have a quick last minute tip.
Yeah.
How much do you use like mutual action plans and that sort of thing in your sales process?
So we have one that we can do. I've heard mixed things from guys. Like, some people will say, I'll reserve it for these types of deals, or I'll, you know what I mean? But we do have one that they put together for us to use.
Because I do it verbally and obviously documenting it afterwards in a proposal or an email on every call. Just to set the expectation up front and then doing an upfront contract. Is that something that's part of the process right now? Yeah. It is. Okay. Because like in that deck, I would have started with, hey, like the end goal of this is to make sure that we do X, Y, and Z. And then if we do that, the expectation is we're going to put another meeting on the calendar to do this thing, and that will be the agenda of that meeting. Do you feel comfortable telling me no if you feel like we haven't hit the goal?
Yes. That's so good. We do that, but we don't do it in how you just said it. And how you just said it to me is really impactful.
Because it gets them to commit to giving you an actual answer. Because a lot of the times you'll get to the end of this deck and they're like, yeah, we like it. We're going to go talk internally about it and we'll get back to you. And that's when you find, especially in the longer deal cycles, things start to spin. And something I've noticed is that, like, I feel like enterprise deal cycles, you could cut a lot of those in half if they were using more of the SMB tactics. People are afraid to do it, so they're artificially lengthening the cycle, because the majority of it should really be in the procurement and legal stage, because that's what takes the longest. I feel like we can get through that first half pretty quickly.
Do you do a training course on that? You should.
I do.
Like you do, yeah.
Yeah.
I love you guys. I felt like
I love
crying.
you too.
You,
You should. I've cried twice today.
you mean Patrick should spin up his own course?
Yeah, like
Yes.
yeah. I mean, I will say this, there's a lot of training and sales and all of that stuff out there, but something as an enterprise salesperson, I'm seeing that there's like gaps in the ones that address specifically enterprise sales. And I think what you just said, like, I'd sign up for that course in a minute, you know what I mean? If it was publicly offered.
Oh, like to other people that don't work at my company. Okay.
Patrick,
Yeah.
Patrick, let's make an ebook this weekend.
I know, if anything you could do is you guys.
Do it.
Would degree
should.
credit for that? Would that be tracked within the platform if you took his course?
Oh my God.
Pathway, Patrick, because we still, you guys can all sign up for Degreed as consumers still for free.
It's cool.
Oh,
shit.
really?
Yeah. Patrick, let's talk.
Okay.
New venture.
So
I'm down.
do you guys actually source, like, I know we're going off here, but like, let's say Patrick was an independent trainer, and like, you guys have like kind of that bank of courses too?
We don't know. We have, what's cool about Degreed is you have a browser extension. So say Patrick had that course and it was open source, I could actually I could curate my own pathway within Degreed as an end user. Like one of the guys in our team who is a sales architect, he's like, I'm a Little League coach. So I've created my own Little League coach pathway. And that's something that I only use, but then other people can search for that, become a part of it if they want. So there's a lot of, you can use it for everything, your daily life, your work life.
Wait a minute, I think Erynn is somehow selling us all on Degreed. I like how she flipped the switch.
So casual too.
Yeah.
It's that tone you have.
Hey, all of a sudden, I'm over here like Googling Degreed and signing up myself.
I know, right? Now, does it integrate with, like, is it interactive in terms of, like, will it pull in LinkedIn or something like that where you're actually talking to other people through it? Or is it just solely like a learning, like, you know what I mean?
I'd have to dive deeper into that. I know the Chrome extension, whatever page you're on, you can save whatever page you're on to Degreed. So if it's like an article on LinkedIn, I don't know about like posts or conversations necessarily, but maybe I'd have to look into a little bit more, but that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need it to be like another platform like LinkedIn. I was just curious that because it integrates with all these other different things, I was curious if it is pulling in those social platforms and looking at what you're posting, what you're commenting on as well, and then like pulling things up that might make sense for you in that capacity.
I'm going to ask about that because that's a really interesting question.
Okay.
I'm trying to see this demo.
I know, me too. I'm like, can we do this again?
That's a
I'm
good
like,
sign. That's a very good sign.
I want to see this demo.
I'll do
So
it.
for whatever that's
worth.
worth.
Yeah, I'll do that. That would be my next presentership. Go from not talking on 5onFriday at all, being silent, to here we go. Let's just do it. Just do my whole sales cycle through you guys.
Love it.
You guys see the journey.
That might actually be interesting, Francois, to have like a series
Yeah.
where it's like cold call, discovery, like pitch, demo, proposal
sure.
review, and have one person walk through it.
Yeah. I think
I love that
I think
idea.
everybody here would be down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I definitely would. Like, this is just the slow hustle. Like, this is Aaron's plan all along. Like, I'm going to get him on there, and then I'm going to demo him, and everyone's going to be on the platform.
Next minute, you guys are $1 million deal in my pipeline.
So you're over there, you're going to hang up the call and be like, oh, suckers.
My manager's actually behind the computer being like,
Yeah, way to go, Erynn.
Awesome.
I told the guys, because I'm in like an onboarding cohort, I was like, I'm going to share me being thrown to the wolves with them because they're all going to be pitch certified. So they were like, yeah, we want to see the tape. Show the tape. I don't know what that comes.
I always wonder how many people do that. And I feel like, especially if you're new at a company, showing them that, A, you did this,
Yeah.
but I almost want to see if this is like, could be part of your interview or part of your like pitching to a company you want to work for. Like, hey, come on here and pitch
really
that
good,
company that you want to work for to us, get the feedback, put together a slide deck, send all of it over to the company and be like, boom, I'm going to come work for you and I'm going to kick ass. And this is why, and show them like the behind the scenes work. I think that could be really cool.
Everybody should be doing, yeah, I agree with you. There's so many cool things that 5onFriday does for people, and that's a brilliant one. I love you guys. I'm so happy. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I see we're a few minutes over, so I bet people have to run to other stuff, but this was super fun, Erynn. Love that you were willing to like put yourself out there. We'll pop up the recording, obviously send it over, and you can like show people the tape.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. Have a good
All right.
day.
Have a great Friday.
Great job,
Erynn.
Tim.
Thanks for being here, guys.